Peace at the expense of your peace, all because you're trying to avoid conflict, guilt, or rejection. Mel gets it. She's lived it for years. She overfunctioned in nearly every relationship. She tried to keep everyone happy, anticipate needs, prevent problems, smooth over tension, but all that over caring left her feeling resentful, depleted, and invisible. That's why Chapter 9 is about reclaiming your power through boundaries. It's about learning to say, let them expect whatever they want. Let me do what's right for me. One of the key points Mel makes here is that boundaries are not about changing other people. They're about honoring your needs. When you set a boundary, you're not controlling someone. You're clarifying what's okay and what's not okay for you. She gives us this clear formula. A boundary is when you say, this is what I need, this is what I won't tolerate, and this is what I will do. If the line is crossed, let's look at some examples. Example 1, the always calling parent your mum calls every day, often at inconvenient times. You love her, but it interrupts your work or rest. You've never said anything because guilt. Mel says let her want daily connection and let you create a boundary. You might say, I love talking to you, but I can't talk every day. Tuesdays and Sundays work best for me. Let her be confused or disappointed. Let you prioritize your time and mental space. Example 2, the emotionally draining friend, they vent constantly. Every phone call is a spiral of complaints. You always feel drained after talking to them. Mel says let them have their emotions and let you protect your energy. You don't need to ghost them, but you can say, hey, I've got 10 minutes. Let's keep it light today. That's not rude. That's clarity. Example 3. The partner who doesn't help around the house. You've dropped hints. You've hoped they'd notice, but nothing changes. You're drowning in responsibilities, Mel says. Let them assume you'll always do it. Let them be surprised when you set a new standard and let you have the conversation. You might say, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I need us to divide this more evenly, clear, firm. Not a fight, just a fact. Mel also talks about how boundaries can feel unnatural if you weren't raised to set them. If you grew up in a family where emotions were avoided or where saying no was punished, you probably learned that your needs were secondary. But here's what she wants you to know. It's not your fault. You didn't learn boundaries, but it is your responsibility to start practicing them. She offers this powerful reminder. People who benefit from your lack of boundaries will push back when you set them. Let them. That pushback isn't a sign that your boundary is wrong. It's a sign that it's working. Mel encourages you to stay calm in the face of discomfort when you say no. Don't over-explain when you state a need. Don't justify it. When someone pushes back, don't apologize. Just repeat your boundary with kindness and clarity. She also reminds us that boundaries protect your peace, but they also protect your relationships when you don't express what's okay and what's not. Resentment builds, and resentment is what poisons. Connection boundaries aren't the end of love. They're the beginning of healthy love. One powerful story Mel shares in this chapter is about a couple she coached. The wife felt exhausted and angry because she was handling everything at home. The husband wasn't lazy. He just assumed she wanted it that way because she never said otherwise. When she finally voiced her frustration and set a boundary around emotional labor, things began to shift, not instantly, not perfectly, but the door opened. That's what boundaries do. They open the door to real communication. They take you out of silent resentment and into respectful honesty. Mel also addresses a big fear. What if I lose people by setting boundaries? Her answer is gentle but firm. Then they were never really there for you. They were there for what you provided, and that's okay. Let them go, because you can't build a life around keeping others comfortable while you slowly disappear. As the chapter closes, Mel offers this mantra to help you start practicing. Let them have their expectations. Let me have my limits. Let them be upset. Let me stay grounded. Let them do what they do. Let me protect my peace. So the next time you hesitate to speak up, the next time you want to say no, but fear guilt, the next time someone crosses a line and you tell yourself to let it go, pause, breathe, and say, let them expect, let me decide. Because your boundaries are not burdens. They're blueprints for a life that feels safe, honest, and truly your own. After 10, let them walk away. There's nothing more human and nothing more painful than being left behind, whether it's a breakup, a friendship fading, a family member pulling away, or someone simply not showing up the way they used to. The feeling of abandonment cuts deep. It brings up fear, shame, confusion, and 100 questions. What did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough? How could they just leave? In chapter 10, Mel Robbins offers a simple but life-changing reframe for that grief. Let them walk away. Yes, it's heartbreaking, but also, yes, it's often necessary. Mel shares that this chapter was the hardest for her to write because it touches something we all fear. Deep down, the loss of connection. We are wired for belonging. So when someone leaves, it can feel like a failure or a rejection of who we are. But here's what she wants you to remember. When people walk away, it's not always about you. And even if it is, you're still allowed to stay true to yourself. One of the most powerful things she says in this chapter is this: people walking away is not the end of your story. Sometimes it's the beginning of your healing. Mel tells the story of a very close friend who slowly distanced herself after Mel's TEDx talk went viral. This was someone she'd laughed with, cried with, leaned on. But as Mel's career grew, her friend became distant and critical, then disappeared, and Mel was crushed. She tried to reconnect. She sent texts. She replayed the conversations. She doubted herself until finally she stopped, and she said the two words that brought her peace. Let her walk. Mel didn't get the closure she wanted, but she got something better. Clarity. She saw that people grow in different directions, that not all friendships are built for every season, and that sometimes letting someone walk away is the most respectful, self-loving thing you can do. Because here's the truth: holding on to people who don't want to stay only keeps you stuck. It keeps you in a loop of chasing, proving, hoping, and all that energy could be poured into your own growth. Mel invites us to ask a radical question. What if losing them is what frees you to become who you were meant to be? Think about it. The breakup that broke your heart, it made you stronger. The boss who let you go, it led to something better. The friend who ghosted you, it created space for deeper, truer connections. Let them walk away. She shares another story of a woman named Jenna who had been in a romantic relationship for over 7 years. They lived together. They talked about marriage, but something always felt just slightly off. He was distant, often unresponsive and non-committal. Jenna kept trying to be better, do more, love harder, until one day, without warning, he ended it. She was shattered. But with time, she realized she had been holding on to a version of love that was draining her. She had been afraid to let go, so he did it for her. And now she's thriving. She's grateful because she learned the hardest truth. Sometimes their absence is the blessing you couldn't give yourself. Mel gently but firmly reminds us, if someone doesn't want to be in your life, you don't want them there either. Not really, not fully full script you can use when people are emotionally intense. It seems like you're upset. I care about you, and I'm here, but I'm not going to take that energy on. When you're ready to talk calmly, I'd love to connect. That's not cold. That's emotionally intelligent. She also talks about emotional manipulation. Some people use their emotions to control others. Mel is clear. That's not your problem. That's a pattern they need to deal with. Your job is to hold your boundary, not their baggage. Let them feel what they feel and let you protect your peace. Mel shares a story about a friend who was constantly overwhelmed. Every time they talked, it turned into a vent session. Mel found herself absorbing all that emotion and walking away feeling worse. So she started saying, "I'm here for you, but I also need to protect my own energy. Can we find a better way to support each other?" The friend was taken aback, but ultimately it helped both of them grow. Because when you honor your own emotional boundaries, you give others permission to do the same. This chapter ends with a reminder. Letting people feel their feelings doesn't mean being indifferent. It means being wise. It means you love people enough to let them process life. And you love yourself enough to not let their waves drown your boat. So the next time someone's energy feels heavy, the next time emotions start to rise, the next time you're tempted to fix, appease, or control, pause, breathe, and say, "Let them feel. Let me stay grounded." Let us both grow from this moment because you're not responsible for anyone else's emotional life, only your own. Chapter 16. Let them be someone else's problem. Let's get straight to it. Some people are not your problem to solve. In Chapter 16, Mel Robbins gives us the green light to stop carrying people we were never meant to carry in the first place. You know the ones, those who chronically drain you, disrespect your time, cross your boundaries and never change, but always expect you to stick around. Whether it's the co-worker who always dumps their work on you, the friend who never supports you, but always expects your time, or the family member whose chaos becomes your emergency, Mel's message is crystal clear. Let them be someone else's problem. This chapter isn't about being cold or cruel. It's about liberation, emotional freedom. Recognizing that your energy is a limited resource and not everyone deserves unlimited access to it, Mel shares a truth that might sting a little. If someone keeps draining you, it's not just their fault, it's also about your refusal to let go. Oof. But she's right, because deep down, most of us believe that if we stop helping, stop fixing, stop listening, we're bad people. That if we don't pick up every call or help every time they ask, we're selfish. But the truth is, you're not selfish. You're just finally acknowledging your limits. Mel tells the story of a woman named Diane who spent years helping her brother through crisis after crisis. Addiction, bad relationships, money problems, legal trouble. Diane kept giving money, showing up, trying to rescue him, but every time he went back to the same self-destructive patterns, eventually Diane broke down. She was burned out, angry, resentful, and still nothing changed. That's when she found Mel's work and started using the let them approach. She told her brother, "I love you, but I can't keep showing up like this. I'm not abandoning you. I'm just stepping back. This is your life, your responsibility." She let him be someone else's problem, and what happened? He didn't change overnight, but Diane did. She got her peace back, her sleep, her clarity. And eventually their relationship got better because it was no longer based on guilt or enabling. Mel wants you to know you are not a rehab center, emotional sponge, or unpaid life coach for people who refuse to help themselves. Let them find new support. Let them take responsibility. Let them experience consequences. Let them get uncomfortable enough to finally grow. And if they don't, let them keep repeating their cycle, just not on your time. This concept applies in so many situations. Example, the friend who only calls when they need something. They don't check in on you. They don't celebrate your wins. But the second they have a problem, you're their first call. Mel says, let them and let you stop answering every time. You're allowed to be unavailable for relationships that only go one way. Mel explains that sometimes you're exhausted not because of life, but because of the people you keep dragging behind you. And that's the powerful question she poses. Who would I have more energy for? If I stopped carrying people who aren't my responsibility, she encourages you to make a let them list. People, situations, and responsibilities you need to step away from. Let them find their own ride. Let them figure out dinner. Let them miss the deadline. Let them sit in the mess they created. Let them handle their emotions. Let them be upset that I'm no longer fixing it. Then let yourself feel the relief, the clarity, the freedom. Mel knows this isn't easy, especially if you're a helper, healer, or someone who's always been the strong one. But she reminds us that being strong doesn't mean overextending. It means knowing when to stop. She drops one of the most liberating quotes of the entire book here. You're allowed to stop showing up for people who never show up for themselves. Read that again. You're not a bad friend for creating distance. You're not a bad daughter or son for stepping back. You're not a bad employee for sticking to your job description. You're a human being with boundaries. Mel also gives us a helpful mantra for when guilt creeps in. I'm not abandoning them. I'm honoring me. That reframe is everything. Because letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop carrying. There's a big difference. You can love someone and still say, this is not mine to hold. And if they say, you've changed, you have. You're no longer choosing burnout over boundaries. Mel closes the chapter with a reminder to protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Your life is not a dumpster for other people's drama. Your time is not a donation. Your peace is not a free-for-all. So the next time you feel pulled into someone else's chaos, the next time guilt whispers that you should help, the next time you feel resentment rise in your chest, pause, breathe, and say, in a world cluttered with chaos, it's vital to prioritize your own well-being. Allow others to carry their burdens. They are not yours to shoulder. Protecting your energy means creating a sanctuary for your spirit. By choosing peace over external turmoil, you cultivate a beautiful inner garden. Focus on what nourishes you, drawing boundaries that honor your mental health and emotional tranquility. Embrace the serenity that comes from this choice. Chapter 17. Let them judge you. If there's one thing that can paralyze even the strongest among us, it's this: the fear of being judged. You hesitate before posting. You overthink every word in a text. You replay conversations in your head. You worry what your co-workers think, your family, strangers online, and slowly, without realizing it, you start living for other people's approval and not your own truth. In chapter 17, Mel Robbins gives you permission to do something radical. Let them judge you, because here's what she wants you to know. Judgment is inevitable. Whether you stay quiet or speak up, someone's going to have a problem. Whether you follow your dream or play it safe, someone's going to have an opinion. So instead of trying to avoid judgment, learn to stand tall in the face of it. Mel opens the chapter with a truth that hits home. You're being judged anyway. You might as well be judged for being real. Boom. She shares a personal story about when she first started speaking publicly. She got so much criticism online, comments about her voice, her outfit, her story. Some were nasty, others were just subtly mean, and for a while it got to her. But then she realized people judge from their own lens, their own limitations, their own unresolved stuff, and you can't control that. What you can control is this. Will I let someone else's judgment decide who I become? Let's break down the different kinds of judgment you may face and how to apply. Let them to each one. 1. Judgment from strangers. These are the anonymous internet critics, the people who scroll, scoff, and type mean things behind a screen. Mel says, let them. If someone is triggered by your joy, your growth, or your story, it says everything about them and nothing about you. Let them roll their eyes. Let them gossip. Let them mock. You're not for everyone, and you're not supposed to be. 2. Judgment from your family. This one's deeper. You want their support, their pride, their belief in you, but maybe they don't get your dreams. Maybe they criticize your parenting, your job, your relationship. Mel says, let them. Let your mum not understand your career choice. Let your uncle make snide remarks at dinner. Let your cousin think you've changed because you have changed. You're growing, and that might make people uncomfortable, especially if they're still stuck. But don't shrink to fit their comfort zone. You weren't put on this earth to play small in order to keep others calm. 3. Judgment from your old self. This one's subtle, but it's big. Sometimes it's not even others who are judging you. It's your past self. The version of you who was afraid, who stayed quiet, who thought playing it safe was noble. Mel reminds us, growth can feel like betrayal to the version of you who settled. Let her be unsure. Let her grieve the old way. Let her catch up. Mel says this beautifully. The price of evolution is the judgment of those who don't understand your transformation, including the old you. And that's okay. You're allowed to outgrow the past. You're allowed to want more. 4. Judgment from friends and peers. This one cuts deep. Maybe you started a new business and your friends made jokes. Maybe you started therapy or sobriety or spiritual work, and your circle didn't support it. Maybe you posted something vulnerable online and it got side eyes. Let them, Mel says, stop trying to be palatable for people who were only comfortable with your past. If someone withdraws because you're rising, let them go. If they misunderstand you, let them sit with their confusion. You don't need to explain your purpose to anyone who doesn't genuinely care about your growth. The let them reframe. Mel gives us one of the most powerful tools in the book, a reframe that neutralizes judgment. What if their judgment doesn't mean I'm wrong? What if it means I'm brave? Boom. Let that land. Most people will never pursue their dream, never say what they really mean, never take the leap. So when you do, of course they'll project their fear, their jealousy, their discomfort. Let them. Mel encourages you to switch the voice in your head. Instead of asking, what will they think? Will they judge me? What if they don't like it? Ask this, what do I think? Do I like who I'm becoming? Because that's what matters. She tells the story of someone who started posting content online after reading the 5-second rule. She was terrified. She felt unqualified. She worried about looking silly. And yes, people judged her. But guess what? More people thanked her, celebrated her, found hope in her courage. Mel says, don't let the few critics drown out the many supporters. And if nobody supports you, support yourself louder. That's what self-trust is. Here's a powerful mantra to carry with you. Let them judge. Let me be free. Mel also reminds us, you're judging people too. We all do it. It's part of how the human brain works. But the difference is, judgment doesn't need to decide your actions. Let people judge. Let them misunderstand. Let them form opinions. And then let you keep going. Keep writing. Keep showing up. Keep healing. Keep creating. Keep speaking. Because your life is not a court case, and you are not required to present evidence for who you are becoming. Mel ends this chapter with a bold and beautiful challenge. Start living like judgment doesn't matter. Start choosing based on what you know, not what they might say. That's the kind of freedom that changes lives. So the next time you feel that sting, the judgment, the comment, the side-eye, pause, smile and say, let them judge me. Let me rise anyway. Chapter 18. Let me live my life after all the lessons, all the release, all the let-thems. Mel Robbins brings us here. To the final and most important shift of all, let me live my life. You've learned how to let them talk, let them walk away, let them not understand you, let them judge, let them stay stuck, let them feel how they feel. Now, the spotlight turns fully inward. It's your time, your turn, your chapter, because letting them was never the goal. It was the gateway, the goal to fully reclaim yourself. Mel opens this chapter with this truth. You don't owe anyone your peace. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't owe anyone your life. You owe yourself the chance to fully live. And that right there is what this chapter is all about. It's about stepping out of the shadows of people-pleasing, self-abandonment, over-explaining, over-apologizing, and stepping into your own alignment. It's about living boldly, even if people don't get it. It's about trusting yourself, even when you failed before. It's about starting again, this time for you. Mel shares that for years she was living for other people, for appearances, for validation, for expectations, for roles, mother, wife, daughter, professional perfectionist. And underneath it all, she was exhausted. But when she finally started saying, let me, everything shifted. Let me write. Let me speak. Let me start. Let me stop pretending. Let me show up scared but real. Let me trust my own instincts. That's when her life stopped being about survival and became about creation. Mel tells the story of a turning point, a moment in her kitchen when she caught herself planning her day around everyone else's needs. The carpool, the emails, the chores, the favours. She asked herself, when do I get to live my life? Not just exist, not just perform, not just react, but actually live on her terms. That's when Let Me Live My Life was born. She makes it clear. This isn't about selfishness. It's about alignment. When you stop contorting yourself for others, you become more present, more honest, more available for yourself and the people who actually love you for you. Let's explore what this looks like in everyday life. 1. Let me take up space. Stop apologizing for your voice, your opinions, your dreams, your joy. You don't have to be quiet or smaller or less intense to be accepted. Mel says, let me take up space. Let me share my ideas. Let me be big. Because shrinking doesn't make you safe. It just makes you resentful. 2. Let me rest without guilt. You don't need to earn rest. You don't have to prove how exhausted you are to deserve a break. You are allowed to do nothing and still be worthy. Let them think you're lazy. Let them call it selfish. Let you rest. 3. Let me make choices that others don't understand. You want to leave the job. Break up, move, start over. Everyone's confused. Let them be. You are the only one who has to live with the consequences of your choices. So make choices that honor your truth, not their comfort. 4. Let me stop waiting for permission, for the timing to be right, for someone to say, oh, now you're ready. Mel says, there is no right time, only right now. Let me start the business, write the book, take the class, speak up. You don't need another sign. You need a decision. 5. Let me forgive myself for the years you played small, for the relationships you stayed in too long, for the boundaries you didn't set, for the voice you silenced. Let them hold the old version of you. Let you release her with love. Mel reminds us that self-forgiveness is the key to self-trust. You can't step fully into your power if you're still punishing yourself for the past. Let it go. Let it be a chapter, not your whole story. Mel also offers a vision practice, something powerful to do when you're ready to embody this chapter. Visualize the version of you who is fully living your life. Not one day, not later, not if, when, but now. What do you look like when you trust yourself completely? How do you walk, speak, create, rest, love, lead? What are you no longer doing? Who are you no longer explaining yourself to? Write it down. Claim it. Then start making decisions from that version of you. This chapter and the book ends with Mel's most important reminder. You've spent enough time trying to be who others needed. It's time to be who you need. Let them go. Let you rise. You don't need to control them. You don't need to change them. You don't need to explain yourself anymore. Let them. Let you. Let life begin again. And now, let yourself live your life fully, honestly, and unapologetically. Thank you for joining me on this transformative journey through the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. I hope this audiobook-style summary has inspired you to release what no longer serves you and reclaim your peace, power, and purpose. If these lessons resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Book Navigator, where we break down life-changing books into powerful, easy-to-digest summaries to help you grow, heal, and thrive. One chapter at a time. See you in the next book.